Hey, sixth grade. This is your language class for Friday, April the 3rd. We will go over the spelling words from lesson 11. They were due today. And then we will look a little bit at lesson 12. Actually, we won't even look at much for lesson 12, but talk a little more about the character sketch. Most of your work, except for the character sketch in these lessons, will be review work. So carefully check it out. Make sure you know how to do it. We will go over some of it. Monday we'll go over some of lesson 12. But thinking about the character sketch, your character sketch should be a person you know well, right? And you're focusing on basically on one characteristic that stands out to you. What is that one characteristic that has influenced you? One characteristic of your dad, your grandpa, and uncle. Doesn't have to be a family member, but somebody you know well that stands out and you've noticed that this person is a grateful person in spite of, and then give examples of how their gratefulness stands out. This is not their life story, okay? But basically focusing on that characteristic, how that characteristic stands out, what maybe incident or occasion in their life, maybe a difficulty they face, but still this characteristic shines through. My grandparents, their youngest son was severely handicapped. My Uncle David, he couldn't walk or talk, couldn't do anything for himself. All right, for 30 years, Grandma fed him, changed his diapers, took care of his needs. Their entire life was basically scheduled around Uncle David. They couldn't go on vacations, they couldn't do things that other people could, at least not nearly as freely. There were times when we would take care of David so that Grandma and Grandpa could visit family in other states or things like that. But for 30 years, she carried him around, Grandpa and Grandma, but Grandma especially. Grandma never complained. That was one of the things that always stood out. She was a grateful person, and she never complained in spite of all that. I remember as children being around there, and she would be working with David, she would be changing him or whatever, and she would either be singing or quoting poetry that she had learned as a young girl, always talking to him, and we never got the idea that she resented having to take care of him for 30 years. Always grateful, always cheerful, never complaining, never had a bad word to say about the situation. And that always stood out to me, that always challenged me. So that's just a brief character sketch of my grandmother there, and that's just an example. Focus basically on one main characteristic that stands out to you. Don't give their entire life story, but just how they have influenced you in whatever way. All right? So work on that. Make sure you have that finished by the end of the week. That will need to be handed in next Friday. On another piece of paper. I do not want your books. Do not hand your books in, because then you'll be without your books for a week and you can't. Actually, we'll be done with the books then, but no, this needs to be on another piece of paper, neatly done, spelling, main punctuation, capitalization, things like that. Check over that. This will be graded. It will go on your report card. All right, let's just quickly go over the words. On page 37 for lesson 11, a small restaurant is a cafe. So these French words are borrowed from French. 31, a piece of boneless meat or fish fillet. 32, a hut or cabin. Could be either, or you could have both in here, chalet and shanty. Chalet and shanty. 33, disguise of people, animals, or objects to make them look like their surroundings, camouflage. 34, small but expensive ship. is a yacht. A long game where you use wooden mallets to whack balls around. Croquet. To persuade by using pleasant words or flattery. Cajole. So you get people to do what you want by, we call it kissing up to them, talking nice and flattering. Food made of beaten eggs that are cooked and folded in half. Omelet. Small short-handled axe is hatchet, number 38. 39, the main part of the airplane that holds the crew, the passengers, and the cargo, the fuselage. 40, public eating place, restaurant. 41, a house with a sloping roof that hangs out over the walls. That is technically your chalet. So you could put either chalet or shanty there too. Again, they could be about switched. 42, person who is fearful, coward. 43, a sour liquid used to flavor and preserve food, vinegar. 44, plan to achieve a specific goal, strategy. 45, a small exclusive group of people that keeps others out, clique. Hopefully we don't have any of those. 46, soft food used to make by boiling sugar and fruit juice, jelly. 47, the remains of something that has been broken or destroyed, the debris. 48, crochet is needlework done by looping yarn or thread with hooked needles. And 49, I do.